Hey guys, continuing Iamblichus Exhortation to Philosophy, text chapter 19. This is quite a big chapter. I have several more videos on it. Okay, here Iamblichus says, because people do not study geometry and they don't realize that there is a thing called geometrical equality, and it exists on earth just as much as it exists in heaven. And if we look around, we see this, and especially we would think that, this is my interpretation, especially in the modern time, right now, when science is such a big thing, and physics and so forth, and geometry, mathematics are taught in schools, you'd think that people would deduce certain things from this, but they do not. So Iamblichus says, because people do not understand this concept of geometrical equality, and they do not notice it, because they're ignorant of it, they get the idea that they must acquire more than is fair for them, and that they will be happier if they get more than what is fair. And so they pursue that. And that generates unhappiness. Because I guess because it creates inequality, and it creates disorder and injustice. So he says this. Now let's interpret it. Okay. So there's different ways that arise in my mind on how to interpret this. First is the word fair that he uses. If the man gets what is fair, if he knows, okay, this is fair for me, I get this, that's it, I don't want any more, then here the energy stops. The energy has done a full cycle. It is completed. He got what is fair. And that's it. The energy stopped. The man is at peace. But if he thinks I need more, then essentially there's no end to this more. And we see this very often in people and how they try to make money and so forth. There is no end to this. The man will constantly be trying to get more. Obviously, not always. This is just one example that I'm kind of thinking of. But the energy works very differently. And to get more, the man will be spending his energy, he'll be spending his thinking, his physical, his emotional energy. That can stir unhappiness. He will be unsatisfied. He will be without peace. This is one way how I think about it. So if we look at for example, two shoemakers. One shoemaker, he gives the price, says, okay, to do this, you pay this, to do this, you pay this. This is the price. He's done the shoe, the person paid him the price. He made the price public, so everyone knows what the price is for what kind of jobs and so forth that he's doing. And that's it, he's happy. He's he's done the shoe, he got his money, he went home, he ate and so forth. Another shoemaker, he's constantly thinking, how can I get more money out of people? And I'm talking about shoemakers now, but in reality, this is used by a lot of professions. So instead of making his prices public, he doesn't announce the prices. He says, price depends on the job. And a person comes to him to do the shoe, and the shoemaker looks at the person and sees that it's a wealthy person. And he thinks, I can get more out of him. And he gives a bigger price to this wealthy person than if a poor person came to him and asked him to do the shoe. And okay, some might think this is reasonable, some might think it's unreasonable. The point I'm making is, the shoemaker who was making the price based on the person, he had to spend much more energy to analyze the person and then to change the price, to think of a new price, than another shoemaker whose prices were obvious and open. And then to consider the possibility that the poor person who did his shoes with this shoemaker somehow interacted and talked to the rich person, and the rich person found out that the shoemaker charged him 10 times more for the same job than he did to the poor person. How will the rich person think of, what will they think of the shoemaker? They will not be very happy with him, because of some kind of inequality and injustice is being done. The job was the same, and yet he had to pay, just because he wore a suit, he had to pay more than this other person. And so this person may not go to the shoemaker again, and may go to the other one who is open with his prices. Do you see how complex the situation becomes when the person is constantly trying to get more out of something or somebody and so forth for his own benefit, more than is fair? So fairness, I think, is very important, because fairness is hinting here on justice. What is just? Yeah. There is a saying that the name of evil is excess. I think this saying kind of goes very well with this. But psychologically, we also understand there is a common habit people have, which is devaluing themselves, and often this reverses, and the person thinks, I must acquire less than what is fair, and so people devalue their services, they devalue their efforts, and they ask very low prices when they do very difficult jobs, and so forth. That also leads to unhappiness, because again, that is disorder, that is not justice. They're doing injustice to themselves, essentially. Whether they get more, they're doing injustice, that is fair. And whether they get less, that is fair. That is also injustice. I understand it like that. And we see it psychologically. We see their motivation drop. We see their happiness levels drop if we analyze. I've worked with such people. If we analyze and work with them, then we see that. We see that behavior creates a lot of unhappiness. And at the core of it often is a disbelief in oneself and in the good of oneself. A person doesn't believe that they are offering something of value, of service, because their mind is constantly thinking negatively about themselves, about what they're doing. And so they devalue their services, they devalue their efforts. In psychotherapy, devaluation is one of the most common and widespread self-defense mechanisms that people unfortunately develop, and then it automatically becomes active and hurts them. So that's it. Let's leave it on that. Yeah, and do some meditation now for a couple of minutes. Okay, thank you guys. A video will appear now, hopefully, and you can click on it to keep watching this channel.